While in literature class one day, I was called to the office over the speaker. I got up and went to the office, not knowing what it was about. My mom called the school and told me that I got an interview at the job I had applied for. So after school, I made my way to the same grocery store that I bought Nicole's roses at.
No, Nicole.
The interview went fine and I got my first job, as a bagger after school. These days I understand the importance of everyone at the job being cross-trained so that if there is ever a shortage, someone can step up and fill that role. I was just happy to bag groceries and help people to their car if necessary, as sometimes it was. Then I was offered an opportunity to do maintenance, which I accepted. It didn't come with more money, just more responsibility. Maintenance was, stock the milk, stock the juice, stock the eggs, rotate inventory, bring in all grocery carts and take out all trash at the end of the night. I became so dependable, that I was promoted to head of maintenance. One of the guys who was working for me was putting out towel paper, but rather than stock it individually, he used a razor to cut the cardboard off the front and leave the rest displayed. So I tapped him on the shoulder and he turned around quickly with the razor still in his hand. Inadvertently, he cut right through the fleshy part of my hand, right below the thumb, which I still bear the scar of today. He got a real scared look on his face, when I stood laughing at him and bleeding. So we got some peroxide and cleaned up the wound. I can remember taking out the trash one night and when I opened the door, there were two men on the loading dock. Dumpster diving? Waiting for an employee to open the door? The guy approached with a bottle, trying to get it, but I slammed the door shut. I was always careful when getting my carts, with no exception. One day, there was a cart between two vehicles. I went slow and inched this cart out of this narrow space. I felt a sense of accomplishment as I finally got it out, but then this older black man called out to me. He said,
"You scratched my car!"
I said, "No sir, I was careful too." He cut me up.
"You scratched my car!"
I was again going to tell him how I slowly made my way out with the cart, so as not to scratch the vehicle, when he angrily asked me,
"You think you're better 'cause you white?"
I didn't say anything and he says,
"Take your damn cart!"
I did, and as I went back in, I could see the employees watching through the glass. One of the girls who was working under me went to get the carts at the end of the night. The manager was concerned she might be violated, so she told me to go outside and tell her to come back inside and for me to get the carts. I understood the logic and went outside to tell this girl to come back inside. She told me in a minute, but I insisted she go now and that I would get the rest of the carts. She got really pissed at me, went back inside and never spoke to me again. I didn't drive and relied on rides to and from work from my stepdad. His days would start at 5 in the morning. Then by 5 at night, he'd have to drive me to work. Then he'd have to come pick me up at 10 at night. In addition to that sacrifice, sometimes he'd buy me dinner for after work. One night, he was late picking me up. A while later, he pulls up, and I find out why. He stopped at Subway to get me a meatball sandwich. While the clerk was making the sandwich, an armed robber walked in waving a gun, demanding money and telling everyone not to look at him. Fortunately, the robber didn't shoot and left with the money. But my stepdad was furious, jumping in his truck, burning out his tires and giving chase. He went back to the restaurant, the cops let him come pick me up and the employee gave him the sandwich for free for his heroism. They caught the robber later that night. With that situation where my stepdad could have been killed just trying to buy me dinner, the sacrifices he had to make in getting me there and back home, and the fact that the employees weren't talking to me even though I did the right thing, I decided to quit. So I finished my last day, changed shirts and handed in my uniform. I got my last check a week later.